In nomine Sanitatis et Populis Quod Roma. In the name of the Senate and people of Rome, welcome to Beyond Baroque. That's just to get your attention. Well, to play on that theme a little bit, we endured the boy emperor of Crawford, Texas for 8 years. We had a republic. We're back to maybe a Caligula-type empire, but that too shall pass. I'm certain of it. No, but seriously, welcome to Beyond Baroque. Thank you for coming out tonight. Before we start the program, I want to say a few words about Beyond Baroque for those of you who may not be familiar with it. It was founded in 1968 by a man named George Drury Smith, originally as a poetry magazine called Beyond Baroque. George was a high school teacher, and he had a print shop located on West Washington Boulevard, now known as Abbot Kinney. He began publishing his poetry magazine 50 years ago, or actually 51 years ago this coming November. In fact, we celebrated our 50th anniversary last year with George, who is 91 years old now, still alive and with us. And it was wonderful to have him here to see that his dream lived on to be over 50 years old now. But anyway, it started as a poetry magazine. He had a print shop that he opened on Friday nights where people could read their poetry. Later that same year, Joseph Hansen started the Wednesday night poetry workshop. And that Wednesday night poetry workshop has been going on from that first Wednesday night back in the 1960s down to just last Wednesday night. And in its first decade, people such as the late Wanda Coleman, Holly Prado, Bill Moore, Harry Northup, Amy Gersler, and Kate Braverman were part of the workshop. Beyond Baroque moved to this building in 1979. This building is the old Venice City Hall, built in 1906. The building to my left that you might have noticed coming in was the police station. It is now the home of Spark, the Social Public Art Resource Center. Over here is a fire station, which is still a functioning fire station. So this area was the civic center of Venice before it became incorporated into the city of Los Angeles in the mid-1930s. Venice went broke during the Depression, and it became part of LA. After Beyond Baroque moved to this building, a whole new group of people came into the Wednesday night workshop, including John Doe and Exene Cervenka, who as a result of their meeting in that workshop formed the band X. And X did some of its first shows right here in this little theater. Yeah. Also in the workshop at that time was the late Mike Kelly. Mike Kelly was basically a do-it-yourself artist who started out in Detroit. He did posters for garage bands and handbills for garage bands, and he came out to Los Angeles in the mid-'80s, joined the workshop, and ended up doing some of the covers of Beyond Baroque's publications from that era. And eventually he became an internationally successful visual artist. He also staged happenings, made films and video. And tragically, he passed away at the age of 57 at the beginning of 2012, a real loss, but he always remained a supporter of Beyond Baroque, and we renamed our project room the Mike Kelly Gallery in his memory and in his honor. Other people who were in the workshop at that time, Tom Waits was in there for a little while, better known as a singer-songwriter. The actor Viggo Mortensen was in there. He is also a poet, photographer, and artist, more than just an actor, and he's one of our biggest supporters. So we are very grateful for his continued support. And a lot of people have remained loyal to Beyond Baroque who hit the big time. So that, I think, speaks well of the place. Lots of people have been running this place. I am now director emeritus. I was the executive director for the last 9 years. I am now the theater manager, which I enjoy very much, and I get to see all of the shows. So these are just I could go on and on about Beyond Baroque, but we want to get to the heart of the matter. And the heart of the matter is Garrick Beck's True Stories. Oh yes, I forgot to make the membership pitch. I'm getting rusty. We are a nonprofit, and we are supported by memberships. You can become a member of Beyond Baroque for as little as $30 a year if you are a student or senior. $40 a year is the foundation level membership, and $60 admits you and a guest to 196 Beyond Baroque events for free. We have about 200 a year here. And for 4 or 5 of them, we have to charge admission at the insistence of outside producers, but even then you get a discount. And we will send you our calendar 4 times a year. And if you join tonight, we are giving away premiums. The first is The Slant Hug of Time, which is a surreal novel by our founder, George Drury Smith. The other choice is Light Years, And this is an anthology of recollections of the Lower East Side, including an essay by Judith Malina of the Living Theater. So you can, and this is like a $40 book, so if you don't like your membership, you can resell this on Amazon and get all your money back. But see Emmett in the bookstore about becoming a member. You can have both if you join at 60, one or the other at 30 or 40. But if you are going to be spending some money tonight, buy Garrick's book first. And then if you have something left over, consider becoming a member of Beyond Baroque. But in all seriousness, if you don't have the book, do not leave here tonight without getting it. It'll be abundantly clear why you want to read the whole thing, because Garrick is going to be reading passages from it. And he sent me a copy last year. It's a terrific book. I was there for some of it. It brought back a lot of memories. But if you don't have those memories, then you're going to be educated to the counterculture from its very heart, depth, and breadth. So do not pass this book up. And I'm sure Garrick would be happy to sign it for you. And of course, Garrick is going to talk about himself, but he's a raconteur. He's a wonderful person. We very possibly may have met at the Free Association in the 1970s. It could have been then, but we're old and our memories fade. But nonetheless, when I met him again, let's say for the first time the other day, I really resonated with this guy. He's got a warm heart, and I love that. So please welcome Garrick Beck.
Thank you everyone for coming here. Thanks for participating at Beyond Baroque and for taking the time out of all your busy and creative lives to come to this event this evening. I want to thank Richard especially, not just for hosting us tonight, but for hosting hundreds and hundreds of events and artists and poets and creative people over the decades, and Emmett, who is, I can't tell whether it was his right hand or his left hand or both hands, but Emmett, who's just a prince of Beyond Baroque. I want to thank him also. He can't hear me, but it's true. What I want to say, most of all, about True Stories is this is a book of social, political, and spiritual philosophy, masquerading as a book of stories. If I say to you, oh, I got a book of political philosophy, social philosophy, spiritual philosophy, the next thing you know, you're reaching for the remote to find a different channel. But if I say to you, and then what happened was, then you're on the edge of your seat and paying attention. So that is what I have tried to do. And the stories have a theme. They're not just fun, interesting adventures. They have a theme. And I'm going to spill the beans right here at the beginning. The theme is that there is a worldwide movement of artists, activists, environmentalists, young people, old people, and folks who have been swept into this movement hardly without understanding its roots. And that this movement is, in fact, going to overtake and replace the nation-state bankster system. And this movement has left a few imprints. It has left the organic food movement. It has left the environmental movement. It has left the alternative energy movement. It has left, well, obviously, the civil rights and the women's movements, because, and those have been written about in great detail. But it has, in fact, become so that yoga is everywhere. Meditation has gone mainstream. Recycling is almost everywhere. Organic forestry is not almost everywhere, but I write a lot about it in the book because it's something that is going to be everywhere. And, of course, tolerance for people who are different from ourselves. Because ultimately, the theme of the book is that all of these little patchwork movements are forming a quilt that is going to enwrap the globe and that is going to help save our lives and the lives of our children and our grandchildren. And I believe this to be so. And that is the theme of the book. So, there you have it in a nutshell. And whether it becomes really true or not, it depends a lot on what happens. It depends a lot on what each of you do. It depends an awful lot on what the young people do. And that is why I have written this. No offense to anybody here who is even close to my age. But I have written this book in order to display the roots of all these various movements to the young people who hopefully will carry the torch or the flag or the banner or the dream on into the next generations, because they don't really know exactly how did this environmental movement get started? Where did this solar and wind power thing come from? What's with all this interest in not spraying our foods and our crops and our waters with pesticides? What is the root of what we are part of? That's who I'm writing for. No offense to we aging wizards and wizardesses of the counterculture. So, I want to say a few words about these slides. First, I want to talk about the first set of slides in this section. I don't know what part we're watching. The gatherings. And I'd like to say that the rainbow gatherings, as much as they have sprung from the older countercultures of the Beats and the Bohemian ideologies, that what's happening in the rainbow gatherings is not that we are all going to learn to live in teepees and tents in the woods. What's happening in these rainbow gatherings is that people from different cultures and different places are learning each other's recipes, each other's songs, each other's mythologies, each other's legends. And for example, there's a gathering in Tajikistan a couple of years ago. People there from Donetsk, from Russia, from Ukraine, from Israel, from Iran, from Iraq, from Hungary, from Amsterdam. The ones from Amsterdam brought the hashish. From Poland, from India. And I say, if all of these people from all these countries, Pakistan, from China, that are theoretically warring with each other, if these fringe elements, these counterculture types, these hippies, these explorers of new ideas and social forms, if these folks, these fringes of society, can learn to live together and take care of each other, well then why can't everyone else? And the answer is we can. And that... One of the things that's happened with the rainbow, and you'll see a bunch of pictures of the gatherings here, but you'll see also in the slides United Peace Relief. And this began for us when Katrina hit New Orleans. And a couple of the rainbow kitchens that had buses, equipment, knew how to take people who didn't know one end of a spoon from how to turn on a propane stove or put up a tent. These kitchens went in there into the Katrina wastelands and took refugees who were coming literally out of the swamp, dazed. They went to where their houses were and there was nothing but trees and rubble. And they came to these rainbow kitchens, and in 2 or 3 days they were helping the next set of refugees get shelter, get food, get coffee, get medical help, and get emotional and communitarian comfort. And what's happened in the years since Katrina is these rainbow folks with the various kitchens and setups have set up at Sandy, the Sandy storm in the New York area, in Haiti, after the incredible hurricane disaster there, at the fires in Northern California. Currently, there is a kitchen outside San Diego helping migrants that I'll put any of you in touch with who would like to be in touch with this. And as far as I'm concerned, in terms of things that are going to spin off from the rainbow gatherings, nothing could be better than people taking the knowledge that we've learned in these events and putting them to real-world use in helping people in need. Because it's not the governments, it's not the banks, it's not even the giant Red Cross and United Relief agencies. It's we the people really going into these disaster zones and helping others, giving them a hand up, giving them the help that they need. And I think this is a really good example of how the party in the woods turns into helping humanity. Another thing I'd like to point out here from the slides is you'll see here a big picture of the Hopi blue corn, and then some pictures of an elderly Native American, David Mononge, Grandfather David from the Hopi, talking in council. And there are 2 stories in the book about that. Most of the stories in my book are standalone. You can flip through it. You don't have to read it like a novel. You can flip through it and read any chapter that jumps out at you or seems interesting. And then you go back and you can read it from the beginning. But there are a couple of events in the storytelling, the gatherings, the Vortex Festival, and the story of the Hopi blue corn that take more than one chapter. And I'm not going to read that tonight. You want to read about the Hopi blue corn, you have to do 2 things. 1, you have to buy the book, or 2, you have to sit right there and receive. Yes. Receive. Oh, we're going to need a couple of volunteers. How many of you are gardeners? Oh, very good. Everybody who's a gardener gets a piece of Hopi blue corn. How many of you have friends who are gardeners? Very good. That's everybody. Soraya, would you help give one of these to everyone? Just pass them out. This is 4 seeds of the Hopi corn, and the method is as follows. You rake the dirt together in a pile that's about the size of a small tire. And you put 1, 2, 3, 4 in the corners, as though a circle had corners, but we're creative. You can put them in the 4 directions. You can put them anywhere, but don't plant them in a row. They pollinate better if they're crisscrossed from each other. So we make a mound the size of a tire. And this Hopi blue corn, when we started growing this, and you'll read about it in the book, people said, blue corn? What the heck? Corn's yellow. Nobody had even heard of blue corn. Now you can't go into a store without being bombarded by blue corn cereal, blue corn chips, blue corn this, blue corn that. This Hopi blue corn is a tremendous crop for growing in droughts or growing in harsh conditions. It'll grow under almost any conditions. You can grind it up into a flour. You can make blue corn chips out of it. You can just eat it when it comes off the vine or off the stalk. And it is a true survival crop, and we hope that humanity preserves its water well enough so that we're not sitting here pouring the scarce teacup of water on the corn in order to have food next year. But it is a great symbol of human survival and human unity, and on top of that, you can eat it. So take this, grow it. This stuff is alive, and this is, you'll read about it in the book, is from the seeds that we started growing in 1970. So